Hi, I'm Mike. I enjoy the challenge of fixing things. Today, in this video, I'm going to show you how I repaired my dual zone wine cooler that had two issues. The control panel was flashing and blinking, and because of that, the wine cooler stopped cooling. I hope you enjoy this video. Look at the circuit diagram on the back, which shows power circuit boards and the compressor starter relays. That was my focus after watching several videos on YouTube about problems with wine coolers. They mostly pointed to starter relays, so in order to tackle that, I had to remove the back cover. Once that was removed, then to access the starter relay, you have to remove this plastic cover. There was a spring clip on mine holding it on. Yours may not have that feature. There's a lot of wires. Mine's a dual zone cooler, so a lot of wires going into this area of the compressor. So I really had to struggle to pull that plastic cover off without unhooking or damaging any of the wires. After looking at the parts here, everything seemed connected well, and instead of trying to start removing and thinking about replacing starter relays, I wanted to address the control panel problem. So to get to that, I have to go to this next set of circuit boards. They are behind a plastic cover, so first had to remove the screws holding that assembly to the chassis of the wine cooler. You'll see as I get into this that there was some tubing from the compressor that really prevented me from easily removing this assembly as a unit. Also, there's not a lot of slack in the wires, so I couldn't pull it out in the enclosure. And after struggling with that for a few minutes, I realized, okay, I needed to remove the plastic cover from the printed circuit boards so that I could then have access to some more of the slack in the wires. Again, you can see I had to jiggle everything to get it. Now that I have the cover off, the wires had a lot of slack in there, which allowed me to then pull the circuit board further out away from the back of the wine cooler. Here you can see the circuit boards, the power board and the main control board out of the unit. And then I'm highlighting the power board, which has the 5-volt circuits likely required for the circuit panel or for the control panel. And you can see from there, it was pretty obvious that there was a bad capacitor. So my experience, I've taken apart other appliances, and one of the common problems is bad capacitors. And if they're the can type capacitors, they're relatively easy to replace. So once I identified the bad capacitor, that was my first move, was to remove that and replace it with a good one. I got lucky. That was basically the cause of the problem of everything. The control panel wasn't getting the 5 volts correctly with the new capacitor. That solved that circuit, and once the control panel was working, it allowed the rest of the wine cooler to work and get the compressor started. So I encourage everyone to not be afraid of a project like this. If you have a bad appliance laying around, an old DVD player, or maybe a cheaper wine cooler, you want to try fixing it. If it's already broken, it doesn't hurt to play around with things and see if you can't fix it. In my case, this was a relatively easy fix for me, and saved me having to replace the whole wine cooler.